let me say this: the bittersweet victory talk, the always should have lost, to did this to get Marvin Harrison. When you play this game as a player in the NFL, you play this game to win. All right, I don't care what your fan base wants, what your front office base wants. When you step across those lines, if you don't go out there to win the game every single time, then get the hell off my field. I don't want you on my team. I don't want you as a teammate. You're a piece of shit of a person. Like, we win. We want to win. These guys, there's so much pride that goes around being a player. Nobody lines up and says, "I'm going out here to lose a game."
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if it's the difference in the first overall pick or the 12th overall pick. When I line up to play the game, I'm out there to win. And when I can go out there and beat a top tier team at their place, I don't give a shit where it knocks me out in the draft, because at the end of the day, we have something to build off as a program, as a football team. When we turn around and look at it, we can say this is what we can do with not as much talent as everybody else in this NFL. Imagine what happens when we get that talent, we get good talent.
Which you can add in the offseason.
There's more receivers in this draft than just Marvin Harrison. Is that generational? Yes. Is he one of the best receivers that's going to come out of the draft in the last 10 years? 100%. But there is more guys in there, and there's guys that fall in the Brock Purdy category, that fall in the Greg Dortch category, that just disappeared in the draft, that turn around and just completely change games for you. So don't base it off of one draft pick, because a lot of times that one draft pick turns out to be a fraud.
I think it's really important, and you got to learn this lesson, especially, and we've said this multiple times, I've said this multiple times, like, rebuilds aren't for the faint of heart. And, like, you can't attach yourself to current players, and don't attach yourself to potential future players, right? Exactly. It's going to happen. There's several paths to a successful, consistent winner, right? And, like, there's a path out there this offseason for Monty Ossenfort and the Arizona Cardinals to rebuild this wide receiver room. And it's not the only one isn't going to be Marvin Harrison Jr.
Exactly.
This is a very talented free agent crop potentially, but the draft especially, like, if they don't, like, they could eat their vegetables with their top pick, the 4th overall selection. They could trade down for a haul. Like, we're going to get more into this conversation. And then they've got that Houston pick where there's probably 4 to 5 wide receivers in this first round that are very, like, they're legit first-round talents.
Easily.
Like Malik Neighbors, Roma Dunze from Washington. I mean, it is deep. And if you lose out on the Marvin Harrison sweepstakes, it doesn't mean that you can't get better at the position.
No.
I mean, like Washington, if they're picking top 3 and they don't get one of these quarterbacks, maybe if they take Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe Terry McLaurin becomes available. Like, there are so many trickle-down effects, the domino effect as it relates to this offseason. Damon Dog, producer extraordinaire, award-winning producer, what do you got for us on the draft front? Let's check it out. So, Houston Texans not doing us favors all year. Listen, it is what it is. Houston 9-7 with 1 game remaining, a very pitiful game. Jacksonville wins. I believe the Colts won, and now, of course, Houston wins. So it looks like right now Houston is vying. If Jacksonville wins next week, they will win the tiebreakers for that division. Houston could still make the postseason as a wild card, so we are all on the Colts bandwagon next week. Knock their asses out of the playoffs. But, again, I think we're all conditioned now. That pick's going to be somewhere in the vicinity. I think the highest right now is like 15, 16, all the way down to maybe early 20s, which makes me physically ill to think about. But Ossenfort and company, listen, hopefully can find a really good player at that position in the draft. As much fun as we're having today, the draft prospects, the draft nuts out there took a hit today.
They did. Yeah. I mean, we thought when that draft day deal went down that it was going to be top 5. And then we were holding out hope it was going to be top 10.
Yep.
Then we were holding out hope it was going to be top 15. Now we're hoping top 20.
Top 20.
It's been, times are tough. And it's unfortunate, but if today is any example, you get a touchdown from your 96 overall third-round receiver. Michael Wilson rebounded nicely after the pick 6,
Yep.
right? Unfortunately, Garrett Williams had to leave the game, but he's had a nice season. I think he's going to be somebody that sticks in the slot, or maybe his role expands next season. Those are your 2 third-round picks. Keitrell Clark was out there. Starling Thomas was out there. The Cardinals have 14 active rookies on this roster. You could bet your ass that Monty Ossenfort's going to be able to take a top 20, top 25 player and turn it into a starter.
And I think, Britton, what's optimistic for everybody is they play rookies. I mean, rookies and undrafted players were out there helping them win today. So it's not like you're going to draft a player in the latter stages of the first round, that player's not going to see the field.
Yeah, well, I think that shows, what they were able to do in the draft, right? It's got to be a great thing. I know Monty's got to feel good inside knowing that, hey, I drafted all these players last year, and we got production out of every single one of them this year.
Yep.
We got them all on the field. They all, for the most part, made plays and did what they were supposed to do. And that's, as a GM, knowing that you've had a full board of draft picks come in and help you out this season is something that they couldn't say in this organization for about 10 years prior to this. If that's how you want to play it. Now, don't get me wrong. We had draft picks come in and make massive. We had David Johnson. We had John Brown. We had J.J. Nelson. We had guys like that came in and turned in to really good players and played well early. But as a whole, we're talking about first round to seventh round and then including undrafted guys. Like, I think Ossenfort did a hell of a job this year in getting production out of everybody he brought in.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, again, receiver is going to be a point of emphasis, Marvin Harrison Jr. or not. We still got 1 week to go. Think about how much the draft standings have changed just in the past 2 weeks alone during this holiday season. The Patriots win. The Cardinals win. Like, we still have one more week, week 18, that could still play a big factor into these standings. And you never know. Teams talk themselves in and out of prospects every draft season. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., while they all haven't declared yet, they're all coming out. And then, at the end of the day, if the Cardinals are picking fourth and they get the best player not named those three, the best offensive tackle, the best pass rusher, I think they'll be pretty content with that. Or, who knows, what if Jaden Daniels has a phenomenal offseason? They could trade out of 4 and get more picks. Yeah, absolutely.
Root for that like you were rooting for Kyler and march the team down there for the dub at the end of the game. Root that hard. I want to debunk something. I want to do with our guy BG here because I see this, and we'll get back into the super chats. But Rafa's saying this, and he's echoing a couple other people saying that Malik Neighbors at 6 feet tall is not tall enough to play wide receiver. I mean, look, we're not talking 5'9". We're not talking 5'6". He's 6 feet tall. Like, Jamar Chase is 6 feet tall. Jalen Waddle's 5'10". Like, 6 feet is plenty tall enough to make plays in this league.
Come on. This is a new game.
Yeah.
Man, this is in the 90s. This is in the early 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, where you need that 6'5", big body guy to go across the middle. You can't hit nobody anymore.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's such an influx of smaller, faster, quicker receivers in the game now? Because why? Tyreek Hill has completely changed this game, right? Tyreek Hill's not going to get decapitated running across the middle of the field because the guy that's going to hit him is not willing to pay $50,000.
Yeah.
That's just stupid. The game is different, right? 6 feet is plenty. I mean, we're watching Greg Dortch. How tall is Greg Dortch?
5'8".
Okay, we're watching 5'8" actually go out here and destroy people, right? So what means to tell me that a 6-foot guy can't go out there and have great success? That's perfect. And Malik Neighbors, by the way, is a hell of a football player. He'll be another great person to get out here, right? So it's a height. Don't get me wrong. Yes, you want a guy that's 6'3", 6'4". You want an A.J. Brown type, a DK Metcalf type, a Julio Jones type. We watched that, came back and had 2 touchdowns. That is ideal. Yes, you'd like to have him. But to say that he can't be, a really good receiver because he's not 6'3", he's 6 feet. I think 6 feet is plenty high to be out here.
Yeah. Think about some of the teams the Cardinals have beaten this year. Dallas, Steelers, Eagles. I mean, to me, that says more about the character of this team and the makeup of this team than anything else. Like, you beat Atlanta, they're in the postseason mix. I think you're close enough where you could take a player like a Malik Neighbors or somebody like that, or a Roma Dunze, or Joe Alt, or a Fashanu, or whatever you want, and that can get you to that next level where, this year you're under 500. Next year, are you around 500? Are you slightly above 500? You're spending money in free agency. Like, they have clearly defined needs, receiver, defensive line, cornerback, that they can attack aggressively this offseason. And again, you cannot put a price on having Kyler Murray available the entire offseason to work with Drew Petzing, Michael Wilson, who caught a touchdown, Trey McBride. You don't think they're going to be exponentially better, including a 4th-place schedule next year? I think too many people who are banging on Kyler Murray, and I get it, you can be critical of his performance. It's like, factor that in. Think about how important it is to have an offseason, to have a healthy offseason. You're in your mid-20s learning a new offense now. You cannot put a price on that. So they have rooted for internally Kyler Murray to be the guy. He took the job today. It's over. Like, people are rooting against him, and I get that. Pick what you want. Caleb Williams, Drake May, a different veteran. Kyler Murray is going to be the quarterback of this organization in 2024. Yes. And I would imagine if things go to plan, he's going to get them to the playoffs next year in the dismal NFC, where 8-9 or 9-8 is going to get you there. I think Kyler Murray is going to have you right there and competitive next year.